You're listening to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro, the place to learn about new technology and technological advances before they become mainstream. This podcast is sponsored by Panduit, infrastructure for a connected world. Let's get into it.
Welcome to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro. I'm your host, Carrie Roberts, and my guest today is Mark Hwang. He develops alliances for Panduit with partners such as Cisco and Rockwell Automation and more. Welcome, Mark. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Carrie. Thank you for having me and excited to be here speaking with you.
Today's organizations, of course, demand more out of their network infrastructure than ever before. And they have a lot of options such as cloud, hybrid, on-prem, and there's more complexity to deal with. And then, of course, we have technology being a critical thing to any organization's strategy. Why is the need for a technology platform that is nimble and can scale as well as adjust to market changes so necessary for organizations right now?
Great question, Carrie. I think there's nothing more relevant today than the impact of the coronavirus on the world. And honestly, technology has already been impacting and changing the world, whether it's organizations or governments and so on. And coronavirus really just accelerated that. Some very specific examples are, remote work. Suddenly, organizations need the speed and capacity to support remote work and also shift their businesses to digital. So with these web conferences today, we're probably both on like a home line right now. And how many times are you on a conference call where someone's having issues and we're not sure if it's the corporate network, the application, or the home network, or both, right? So really, remote work has changed the game in terms of scaling your network capacity, whether it's for your employees or even scaling with coronavirus, scaling that network capacity to serve your customers. Another example is restaurants and the shift from, in restaurant dining to digital ordering and supporting customers through that. And really, at the end of the day, the winners are the ones that make this digital shift to serve their customers and employees. And what I spoke about before, technology was already accelerating. It was already changing the game. So customers and employees were already expecting more. And on top of that, the world is changing faster too with these unexpected events like coronavirus. So really, it's more than ever to be nimble and scale. So you have that technology platform that allows you to support customers today, but also in the future. And the ones that make that shift are the ones that are going to be successful, and the ones that don't will be left behind.
Yeah, and you had just mentioned, we were already moving pretty fast. And then when COVID-19 hit, now we're pushed even further. So we're not only talking about the now, but when it comes to future-proofing your fiber infrastructure, how do you know what size you need, maybe what speeds are best, whether you need 40G, 100G, or 400G? How do you know what are the best options for your needs?
Yeah, definitely. At a high level, organizations face this probably, on an annual basis when they look at their infrastructure and where they are and where they need to be. So there's certain considerations like, am I looking in a data center environment where I'm processing the data and where my applications run, or am I looking at the enterprise environment, which is the distributed network out to the end device, right? So traditionally, like data center, you probably have higher data rate capacity needs, and then enterprise a little bit lower than the data center, just due to, the function of each network. There's other technologies like big data, are you doing big data applications that are going to drive higher data rates, requirements like 100 gig, or are you doing simple virtualization? But I think the real question is, or another way to think about it is, when will you need to upgrade next? With the introduction of software-defined networking, that really pushed networking into 40 gig, and now it's moving into 100 gig and looking to 400 gig. With big data and AI applications, it kind of started at that 40, 100 gig range, but it's quickly moving to 400 gig. already. And then you have other applications like video with HD video now and Wi-Fi moving to higher data rates with Wi-Fi 6 and 7. So really, I think the question for organizations is, how do I put an infrastructure in today that allows my organization to seamlessly scale? Because I know, as we talked about before, the technology requirements are accelerating, and then you also have to plan for these unexpected events.
I mean, then it sounds like an organization should choose the 400 in general. I mean, would that make sense, or it's kind of based on the size and what they need in the next few years?
Yeah, great question. Well, I mean, there's always a balance, right? There's a balance of cost and preparing for the future. So it is legitimate for an organization to look at 40 gig today in the data center, for example. But I think what's important is with having future scalability in mind. So if you're putting in that 40 gig infrastructure today and you're holding off on that cost of upgrading to the highest speed, how do you put in an infrastructure that allows you to scale seamlessly and avoid costly upgrades for both cost and time to reach that next level? Because you know that you're probably going to have to upgrade that infrastructure soon, or that infrastructure is going to have to support higher requirements soon. So it's really kind of a balance of cost and scale. But, I think organizations really have an opportunity to put in that infrastructure that scales today, whether they're deploying 40 gig or 100 gig. They should be deploying an infrastructure with, the next phase in mind.
Now, one of the things we mentioned early on in our conversation today is that part of your role at Panduit is you work with various partners, and one of them is Cisco. And Panduit, along with Cisco, are thought leaders in the networking industry because they provide many of these optimized solutions and architectures to prepare their customers for what's to come. How do these two organizations complement each other, and why has this partnership worked so well for over 20 years now?
Sure. I think the key word there really is complementary. Our solutions are pretty much 100% complementary. So when you think about Cisco and their switching network solutions, literally, with a Cisco Nexus switch and the optic that fits into that switch from Cisco, the Panduit product is the connector and the fiber that connects that switch to another switch or to a server or end device. So quite literally, our solutions are complementary and they connect to each other physically to provide that end-to-end network solution. But what makes Panduit and Cisco's relationship so powerful is really that we are both focused on quality and innovation. So with quality, organizations can count on both of us to have that reliable connection, whether it's processing data or storing their data in the data center, or if it's for video conferencing and a wireless experience for their employees or customers. We have the quality built in to ensure that reliable connection. On the innovation side, we have our engineers, they collaborate regularly. We have annual meetings to discuss technology trends and the technologies we're working on. And these are the same PhD engineers that are engaged in the standards bodies. But as I said before, we talk about the new technologies coming out, and both companies as thought leaders, we're really pushing the boundaries of those new technologies. So that innovation and collaboration and understanding that we bring together on top of the quality, when you put that together, that's a really powerful solution for customers. A specific example that you alluded to before is the 10, 40, and 100 gig and looking to 400 gig migration story. So when the Cisco BiDi optic was launched, Cisco and Panduit collaborated to test the characterizations of that optic with fiber. And through that collaboration, Panduit was actually able to optimize Panduit Signature Core Fibers infrastructure solutions for performance with Cisco BiDi. So what that means is when you use that Cisco BiDi optic with Panduit Signature Core, you have higher performance and greater distance capabilities in your fiber infrastructure. So working together, we've not only optimized our solutions, but we also created reference architectures that help customers understand how to create that migration plan we talked about before, whether you're deploying 10 or 40 gig, and how to ensure that you're preparing for the next bandwidth or data rate requirement. So if you're deploying 10 or 40 gig, how do you ensure you can seamlessly upgrade to 100 gig and even look at 400 gig? So really, it's that combination of the quality solution and innovation that comes together when Panduit and Cisco create these optimized solutions like Cisco BiDi and Panduit Signature Core and provide these reference architectures that help customers understand how to scale and plan their migration strategy. When you put all that together, it's really what enables the ability to scale, because a lesser solution, if you're deploying a lesser fiber infrastructure solution, your distance may not be able to scale. Every time you jump from 10 to 40 to 100 gig, the distance capability shrinks in your fiber infrastructure. The number of connections you can integrate in your infrastructure lessens. And the next time you make that jump, say from 40 to 100 gig, your fiber infrastructure may not be able to support your needs. And a lesser solution would possibly create difficult to diagnose network issues. And that's really where that quality and innovation come together and really provide that peace of mind to organizations that when they're deploying Cisco and Panduit, they know they're getting the best result from our engineering horsepower, and that we're setting them up for the future and setting them up for success to scale and adjust as needed in the future.
Yeah, I think you're right. A perfect partnership in any way is about complementing one another. And I know you're talking a lot about this partnership and a little bit about Panduit as well. Can you go into a little bit more detail about the Panduit ecosystem and its importance?
Definitely. Partnerships are so critical to Panduit's success, and it's really because it's the partners that deliver Panduit's value to the customers. So, that's why Panduit strategically partners with Ingram Micro and the ecosystem of system integrators and our broader ecosystem of contractors. These are the companies that are really delivering our solution to the customer. And especially important to the Panduit and Cisco relationship is that Ingram Micro and system integrator relationship, because these are the companies that are selling and delivering our solutions together. This is our overlap in the go-to-market. And with system integrators are the trusted advisors to customers on their digital journey. So really, these are the folks that are going to advise customers on how to deploy that end-to-end 40 gig infrastructure and scale that to 100 gig. And if needed, look to that 400 gig migration. So that's why we invest a lot in this partnership. And actually it's become more of a focus, better late than ever, for Cisco and Panduit over the last 2 or 3 years, is to really deliver our joint value through Ingram Micro and system integrator community, because we do understand that this is the route to market that's really delivering our value of that quality and innovation to the end customer.
And you had mentioned, it's all about quality and innovation when it comes to Panduit and Cisco. What types of offerings are you and Cisco providing that organizations can use based on all that we've talked about so far today?
Right. So both Panduit and Cisco, obviously, we have our partner programs. Panduit One is our partner program. It provides training and incentives and so on for our partner community. What we've been working on with Cisco is really packaging the optimized solutions and architectures I talked about before online as a resource for both end customers as well as partners. So publicly available at www.panduit.com/Panduit Cisco Alliance. We've posted our co-branded white papers and solution overviews that describe stories related to 10, 40, 100 gig and looking at 400 gig. We also have solutions and offerings around enterprise networks, whether it's PoE or digital building, as well as industrial networks. And either partners or customers should feel free to reach out to Ingram Micro or any system integrator we work with, and even connect with myself. You can find me on LinkedIn, is probably the easiest, or through a Panduit account manager or partner account manager. I'm happy to assist in any way.
And do you have any final suggestions that you haven't mentioned yet for how organizations can make their infrastructure ready for future changes?
Sure. Just, a high level one. Every organization really, they know what their needs are. They deal with the day-to-day. So just very high level. I think back to when I first started my career, originally in consulting. Every employee at the company got a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Franklin Covey. And ironically, I have a 2-year-old daughter. Her school's culture is actually built around a children's book on the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which I didn't know existed until she started there. One of the habits is having the end in mind. And I think that's more applicable today than ever because technology is moving faster. We have these unexpected events. Having that end in mind is so key to really ensure the success of the organization. And once again, we talked earlier, it's a balance of costs and future technologies, but that's where Cisco and Panda are working together to really provide those migration strategies with the end in mind.
I love that your daughter is following in your footsteps with her learning as well. And when you think of technology as a whole, not just in the particular area we're speaking about today, where do you see it going within the next year?
Great. Yeah. So, hopefully my daughter exhibits the 7 habits of highly effective people much better than I do. But I'll make a general technology observation here, and it's kind of related to our entire discussion, just that technology is accelerating, and it is core to basically almost any business strategy, as well as our personal lives. So, another example I'll give is a big brand like Nike, right, announced their new CEO, John Donahoe, who is a technology CEO from eBay and ServiceNow. So, a big brand company that sells shoes like Nike is really preparing for that digital transformation and that move into how you service customers digitally and how you drive sales digitally. And, we talked about things like work from home. If you think about even wireless infrastructure in our homes, I moved about 2 years ago and I made sure I had fiber to the house. And I'm happy I did that because it's not just about surfing the web on Facebook and things like that. Now, both my wife and I are working from home. My daughter is on remote online learning, and every hospital visit, and I'm supporting family members through kind of some medical issues, every hospital visit is a video conference now. So it's impacting our work, it's impacting our life. And I'm just happy that I have that infrastructure to my house as well now that scales to that need, because there's more people online. We're doing more on it. And actually, this is unexpected. I wasn't expecting to have, all 3 people at home online last year, right? So it's really that digital is here. And honestly, we're in the very early stages of digital. If you think about, some trends like big data, AI, quantum computing, we're at the early stages of really collecting and harnessing that power. We're at the early stages of digital building, of smart buildings and of smart manufacturing. But these are all things that are going to kind of transform the world. And really at the center of it is the network. It's the pipes that are going to connect the data points and distribute the data and allow these insights to be generated and allow, these new processes or digital experiences to emerge. So I think, in the future, these pipes are going to have to be more high performance, scalable, and reliable than ever. And that's why I'm, so excited about working at Panduit with partners like Cisco, because, I believe we're the companies that will provide that quality and innovation to support this digital transformation.
I love it. You had mentioned earlier some links and some places to connect. Can you give us that website one more time for people if they want to learn more about what we spoke about today?
Absolutely. It's www.panduit.com/Panduit Cisco Alliance. You can also find, it's a banner on our front page right now as well. Cisco.com also has a lot of the same assets. These are publicly available assets. I forgot to mention that we also have, assets on our partner portal. Both Cisco and Panduit, we have sales portals, obviously, and some of those partner-facing assets are available there as well. And of course, Ingram Micro's site, I'm sure, has all these assets as well as the partner sales assets. But, there's so much information out there. If I can be of any help, and you can reach me via LinkedIn or just ask an account manager from one of your partners or Panduit, and I'm happy to assist.
Well, thank you so much, Mark, for sharing your insight and your passion for what you do. I think you're right. There's a lot of digital transformation going on beyond the tech world. It's hitting all sorts of companies and organizations. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Carrie. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today.
If you like this episode or have a question, join the discussion on Twitter at Ingram TechSol with the hashtag B2B Tech Talk. Thank you for tuning in and subscribing to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro.
You've been listening to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro, hosted by Carrie Roberts. This episode was sponsored by Panduit. B2B Tech Talk is a joint production with Sweetfish Media and Ingram Micro. Ingram Micro production handled by Laura Burton and Christine Fan. To not miss an episode, subscribe today on your favorite podcast platform.